Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the lessons this year and asking Jesus for clarity, as I've done for several years now. And then I write from that clarity whatever comes into my mind. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So a little earlier, I recorded from our new theme, which is what is salvation? And so you may want to also catch that. All right, so let's begin with lesson 231. Father, I will but to remember you. What can I seek for, Father, but your love? Perhaps I think I seek for something else, something I've called by many names. Yet it is your love, the only thing I seek or ever sought. For there is nothing else that I could ever really want to find. Let me remember you. What else could I desire but the truth about myself? This is your will, my brother, and you share this will with me and with the one as well who is our Father. To remember him is heaven. This we seek, and only this is what it will be given us to find. I'm being reminded that it is my will that I seek my Father's love, that there is nothing else worth seeking. In remembering my Father, I will have found the truth about myself. I am not doing this alone. Jesus is with me as we share this will. I feel this desire growing in me all the time. The more ego thinking I release, the more the desire for God grows. My website is fairly new. I'm still playing catch up, trying to learn a new way of organizing it. I'm trying to learn all the rules that get me noticed by Google and then applying them. Besides the daily lessons, I'm trying to add to my contemplations of the manual for teachers and the text. I noticed today that I was getting tense as I tried to find time to do all this. As soon as I became aware of this, I asked myself, what is it that I want? Do I want to hold on to this tension, or do I want the peace of God? The answer to that question is always that I want the peace of God. So I let go of the belief I needed this to be easy and then I needed it to be done quickly. I let these thoughts go, and immediately I was at peace. Peace is always waiting for me to notice it. Peace, joy, love, they're all the same. They're all words that represent God. This is all I seek. My current practice, and maybe the only practice I will ever need, is to remember that the peace of God is everything I want. And it's helping me with this lesson too. What do I seek? I seek peace and happiness. I seek God. This has always been true. The reason I did not always achieve what I seek is that I was looking in the wrong place. I was confused about what would bring me peace and happiness. When I was unhappy with a relationship, I thought the relationship was a problem, and so I tried to fix it or leave it. I thought the right relationship would bring me peace and happiness. When I was sick, I sought to heal the body. I thought that a properly functioning body would bring me peace and happiness. The list of things I thought were necessary to be peaceful and happy are endless. They are different forms of the same thing, and because they were born of a confused mind, none of them was ever going to get me what I wanted. Now, when I'm not happy, I realize that I have returned to confusion, and I'm looking for happiness where it cannot be found. I am learning to turn from that unhelpful and untrue belief and allow the Holy Spirit to purify my mind. I'm learning that all these fixes for the unhappy and unpeaceful mind are just distractions that keep me in my suffering. I do want to join with Jesus and my Father in perfect peace and eternal joy. I will never do this in the world. It's done in my mind because it's only in my mind that we are split from each other. I do it by choosing only the peace of God rather than choosing a new or different or improved worldly experience. Here's something that happened one time. I was not happy. I wasn't unhappy exactly. I just wasn't happy. I couldn't put my finger on anything in particular. It was kind of vague and amorphous, but something was not right. Then one night, as I watched the show, I suddenly felt very emotional. I decided to run with the feelings and began to cry and cry. To resist this and to say to myself that I'm not going to cry because that is not peaceful would not have been honest. I felt like crying, so I did. The ego always wants to make a story out of everything, but I resisted that desire. Instead, I asked what this meant and just let it go to spirit. I didn't get words, but a feeling that emotional releases happen and there's nothing to be concerned about. I also felt strongly that while I will feel these things from time to time as I continue to undo the ego, it's important that I not stay in the emotion. I must not deny the emotion, but rather allow it, and then turn to the Holy Spirit for healing. If I had given the emotion a story, I would have moved away from the peace of God. For instance, the main character in the show was watching with a father, uncertain that he had done a good job raising his son. He was feeling doubts and fears. I could easily have moved into my own story of these same kinds of doubts and fears. That is what the ego wanted to do because it loves its little dramas and because its goal is to keep the guilt stories coming. Feeling regretful about the past was a choice I could have made, but instead I chose the peace of God. So here's a tip from Regina. Father, I will but to remember you. Appearance is full of a variety. Therefore, it is tempting to mind and attention. When mind and attention are unleashed, they jump around from one desire to another. There's nothing wrong with experiencing temporary appearance. Attention was created so that we can have experience, so that we can experience appearance. However, the grasping energy of desire is a distortion of this ability. I call it a distortion because it's based on a sense of lack. It's based on the idea that I'm not fulfilled within my beingness, so I need something else from outside of me to fulfill me. When we looked at lesson 185, we looked carefully at our desires. We asked, why do I want this thing that I desire? What do I expect to get from it? We saw that what we really seek is a piece of truth realization. We seek the fulfillment of knowing ourself, our true self. This is our true desire. Today, we remember this again. And my thoughts about it. This phrase from Regina is quite familiar to me. I need something else from outside of me to fulfill me. I don't tend to do this in my actions anymore, but my mind can be a whirlpool of unrelated and useless thoughts. Instead of looking for a new hobby or a new friend to fulfill me, my thoughts are my entertainment. I've been practicing changing this by noticing where I placed my attention and directing it back to a restful state or directing it back to the now moment. It feels frustrating sometimes because this crazy jumping around from thought to thought habit is well entrenched, and I have convinced myself that it has some value. But I'm educating myself on the value of peace and stillness now. So thank you so much for joining me with this lesson. And if you found it helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And thanks to all of you who have done that. And I appreciate you so much. I'll be back tomorrow with another lesson.